Greetings to all you Maranatha trip missionaries. I know that a lot of you probably heard Phil Becker's announcement at church on Sabbath regarding our Maranatha trip coming up in March to Juliaca, Peru. And I'd like to invite all of you to come along, to get involved. And not even if you can't come along and get involved, maybe you can always pray. And then we're also needing to raise some funds for the building, probably 16 to 20,000 for the building of materials, and then sometimes kids, people need some help and sponsorship too. So I just wanted to reach out and give a little bit of an intro here. It's coming up for March 18 to April 1st, 2024, and we're also hoping to go visit Lake Titicaca because that's where the mission trip is really close to. And then also, if you're interested, Machu Picchu and the ruins there too would be a great place to visit kind of after our trip. And so anyway, I just wanted to give a little of an intro on that. And then also, I have a video from the trip to Dominican Republic and kind of the story in Dominican Republic for the Chehalis Seventh-day Adventist Church and their involvement over the last about 30 years. I know Phil's gone over more than 30 trips, and I believe our Chehalis Church has been involved with at least 30 trips with Maranatha over the last 30 years. And so anyway, this is a great little piece from the Maranatha International, maranatha.org. So without any further ado, I'm going to go ahead and play that for you.
Anyone can build a church. Simply give just $10 each month, and your donation, along with thousands of others, will fund a new place of worship every month. The potential for change is all around you. All you have to do is look.
More than 3 decades ago, a man named Phil Becker started tinkering with the idea of going on a mission trip.
I had wanted to do a mission trip of some sort for quite a few years, and one of the ladies in our church encouraged me, why don't you put together a trip and we'll go with you? And so I tried in '91 to organize one, and that didn't work. When we heard about what Maranatha was doing in '92, I started talking to the church about it. And all of a sudden we had 30 or 35 people that wanted to go, and largely families. This first project, I think it stirred the hearts of many people. We have quite a few doctors in the church, and some of them actually came to me and thanked me for helping them to see a bigger picture of the world than what we see every day.
Mark Ropka was among the volunteers that Phil brought to the Dominican Republic in 1992.
Well, it got me addicted to these projects. I'm a surgeon normally, and I found that coming away for a couple weeks and doing manual labor was a relief for me, and I really enjoyed it. And just seeing the joy that it brought, it was really, really wonderful.
People kept coming to me and asking me, where are we going next? Where are we going next? And so it just became a thing that we would do a project every year, somewhere.
For the next 23 years, Phil led or went on a Maranatha project every year, going from Guatemala to Indonesia to India to Zambia and Cuba. Along the way, he's picked up quite a few friends from the countries where he served, and he eventually invites them to become fellow volunteers. This is Anita Peña. In 2004, she was a newlywed, and her husband was a pastor of the Esmirna Seventh-day Adventist Church in the Dominican Republic. She remembers the church was old and falling apart. Then, that same year, Phil Becker's group arrived with Maranatha, and in 2 weeks, the Esmirna congregation had a new church, and Anita had a new friend. Since Anita and her husband could speak English, Phil Becker had recruited her to be a translator for their team.
When we go, we find people that we just connect with. And for me, since I don't speak much Spanish, usually they are people who know some English. And that happened here in the Dominican Republic in 2004, I think it was. We met a young pastor and his wife who just, they spoke some English, and for whatever reason, they really connected with our group.
Así que a partir de ahí, durante 5 o 6 años, el hermano Becker nos invitaba para traducirles en Perú, en Ecuador, en Chile. Fue una experiencia hermosa.
So in 2022, when Phil began planning his latest mission trip, he invited Anita to serve again. By this time, she and her husband had moved to the United States. So when Phil told her the project was in her home country of the Dominican Republic, she was thrilled.
When Brother Becker told me, "Can you come and help us?" I said, "Of course." And then I have double joy because I was going to give back what I once received, and also I get to see my family, so it's happy twice. Before I was just a channel translating, but now I am part of the building, so it feels so real for me.
Anita was on board to join Phil in the Dominican Republic, but he had another person he wanted to pull from past projects. Rocio Ortega from Chile. Rocio was a teenager and new Adventist when she first heard about Maranatha.
Llegué a una iglesia muy pequeña, que era una pequeña cabañita, cuyos miembros eran en su mayoría ancianitos. Y la verdad es que ahí fue la primera vez que escuchamos de Maranatha, porque Maranatha venía a Chile a realizar proyectos de construcción de iglesias, y recién ahí estábamos como postulando para ver si podíamos participar y ser parte de esos proyectos.
Rocio's church was tiny. It was damp and cold, but it was all they had. So when the congregation landed on the list to receive a new church, everyone was thrilled. In 2008, Phil Becker brought a team of volunteers to build her church. For Rocio, receiving the church was wonderful, but meeting the volunteers was life-changing.
Entonces fue como descubrir otra como área de esta iglesia maravillosa que estaba conociendo, y por supuesto que sin lugar a dudas al verlos a ellos en ese momento de alguna manera nos dio también un sentido de misión a nuestras vidas. O sea, como que es posible servir al Señor y poder llevar felicidad a personas que también lo necesitan, como nosotros en ese momento.
Over the years, Phil kept in touch with Rocio and her husband. He invited them to go on projects, just as he did with Anita. But Rocio could never go. Then, in 2022, Phil texted another invitation and included a very old photo.
Y yo abro la imagen que era por WhatsApp, la abrí y era yo cuando era pequeña ahí construyendo en mi iglesia, allá en Chile.
The picture was enough to convince Rocio to go, and in March 2023, Rocio, her husband Marco, and their daughter arrived in the Dominican Republic to join Phil, Mark, and Anita in building a new church for Luz de Nuevo Amanecer. Like so many groups in the Dominican Republic, the Luz de Nuevo Amanecer congregation grew out of an existing church. A small group wanted to start meeting in this neighborhood, and a congregation was born. At first, they rented spaces. Then they finally bought this lot, which came with a small house. Pastor Andre Jimenez remembers the house.
Pero estábamos, ¿entiendes? Hacinados. Era una casita como esta, pero en madera, con zinc por los lados. Y teníamos esa mejorita, pero no cabíamos, ¿entienden? Teníamos que reunirnos fuera regularmente porque se llenaba la iglesia.
But building a new structure was financially out of reach for the congregation. All they could do was keep saving bit by bit and wait for a miracle. Then the miracle came. In 2022, they received news that they were to receive a Maranatha church.
El regocijo no se puede cuantificar, porque uno, al ver cómo uno se reunía, entonces tiene sentimientos encontrados. Y cómo Dios, uno se emociona tanto de cómo en realidad Dios contesta las oraciones. Porque nosotros orábamos, pero no sabíamos cómo íbamos a producir los medios porque los hermanos son de escasos recursos.
The congregation tore down the broken-down little house on their property, and in March 2023, 20 volunteers, most of them from the Chehalis Seventh-day Adventist Church, arrived to build them a beautiful new place of worship. Pastor Andre, along with other church members, came every day to help lay block and offer encouragement.
It's kind of amazing here, the church we're building now, because we are a small group. There's no way we could complete this project on our own. But with the Maranatha crew helping us, and then the local church members have really come out and helped us also. So it's a team effort. It's not something that we do all by ourselves.
Not only did the group build the church, they also organized Vacation Bible School for the neighborhood. The program welcomed hundreds of children throughout the week. Rocio and Anita worked together to help with the children's programming.
Y de alguna manera también con la escuela bíblica de los niños, y también ha sido una experiencia linda porque de alguna manera cuando uno ve a esos pequeñitos tan alegres y felices, con atención, con amor y con sus regalitos, como que eso llena el corazón.
They also organized a small eye clinic, much to the delight of the community.
Yo he quedado muy agradecida de Dios y de la clínica que donde ustedes vienen, y he quedado muy agradecida y con mucho amor y con mucho cariño y dándole siempre mucha vida.
Despite being a small team, the group nearly finished their church, even installing the roof on the last Friday of the project. On Sabbath morning, 12 days after landing in the Dominican Republic, the Chehalis and Friends team and the members of the Luz de Nuevo Amanecer Church gathered in front of the nearly completed church for a dedication ceremony.
Esta dedicación significa el comienzo de una nueva historia. De aquí en adelante, el Señor se va a manifestar poderosamente en este sector, y entonces vamos a comenzar a ver la gloria de Dios manifestándose en milagros. Y para mí significa eso, el comienzo de una nueva historia para este sector y para los hermanos de la iglesia.
It just brings me back to Solomon's dedication of the temple and how he invited the presence of the Lord in, and the presence of the Lord came and dwelt there. And I was close to tearing up, and I don't often do that, but just seeing the enthusiasm of the people and feeling that, even though you can't speak to them, you can sense how they feel. And also within our group, there's a sense of accomplishment and being used by God as a tool in God's hands. And it's almost overwhelming. It never gets old. This is what it's all about.
This service is what has been connecting people year after year for the past 3 decades in the Dominican Republic. The overwhelming joy in knowing that we have helped each other to not only have shelter, but to have a vibrant, caring community of faith. This is what connects us all to the kingdom of God.
El servicio es algo que te da paz, te da un propósito para vivir. Así que esas 2 semanas, dejando todo atrás y dedicarme a servir y traer alegría a otros, no tienen precio.
I have to think back 31 years, there's a lot changed in my attitude about who God is. And in that time, my change has been that we were created for service, and we will thrive physically, emotionally, spiritually through giving service, which is against human nature. Human nature says, take. But I'm finding in service is joy.
Creo que no podemos vivir si no podemos servir y finalmente el servicio es lo que nos trae la mayor felicidad en la vida.
In a couple days, Phil, Mark, Anita, Rocio, and all the others will wrap up this mission trip and will go their separate ways, but remain forever connected. To this community, to this church, to the Dominican Republic, and the chain of stories that weave through each member and congregation, to Maranatha and its ever-growing family tree here and around the world. A kingdom that continues to grow with every church, school, person we build.
Thank you for taking the time to take a look at this. You probably recognized more people in there than Phil. Obviously, there's a few more in there from this last trip. It was great to see them. And the interesting and cool thing is that over the last 3 decades, many of you have gone there numerous times, different places around the world to serve. And in the coming months, as we come up into the next few months, we are going to have a focus on missions and reviewing some of those stories from the last 3 decades. If you have pictures, we're trying to pull together pictures from different trips over the last 3 decades. Both my wife Athens and I are going to be working on that, putting that together. Phil asked us to help with the missions and fundraising, so you'll be hearing some about that. And then we want to just put together a board of pictures from people from the trips from the last 3 decades. And if you have those, if you could share those, our direction to Phil or to me, then we'll give you the information that you can send that to. And just look forward to having many of you back on this next trip, and then also hearing the stories of many of the people from the trips in the past. So look forward to that, and thank you so much, and take